Our speaker today is a new member doing his introduction to us, and I would like to invite to the podium Steve Gettler. And I'm not going to say much about him. I'm going to let him talk about himself.
Thank you. Thanks, John. I have to speak through this thing, okay? Yeah, I'm Steve Gettler, new member here with the E-Town Rotary Club, and I currently live with my partner Chris in Cornwall Manor up in Cornwall. So I got a couple ways to do this, but I want to start with my Rotary experience first, where I did join Rotary and the other clubs that I was involved with. I've been a Rotary member since 1997, and I started it, I was in business with my father-in-law at the time in Toledo, Ohio, and he was a member of the Rotary Club there in Toledo, so he encouraged me to join and help out. And this particular club had over 500 members in it, so it was quite large. So we even had to hire our own secretary and own treasurer to handle all the business end of the club. They had, of course, with that larger number of members, we had many committees to help figure out and who would receive donations for the year. Actually, I think it was like every quarter they were given the particular donations. So I served on many committees, including some local, some international committees. And it was quite interesting how we selected the particular charity. We had, like I said, we had so many committees that we would get into a room together. The committee would meet, and we would ask the particular grant requester to come in and give a presentation and what kind of funds they needed, why they needed those funds. And so the committee itself would sit there and vote on these particular charity outfits, and then that information would be fed to a grant committee who would then weed out those that were not as important as the other ones. So doesn't mean that they didn't get any later, but that was the way to handle the money and the funds at the beginning. So I moved to Florida in 2012, where I was going to join the Port Charlotte Rotary Club. The Port Charlotte Rotary Club, however, only had about 12 members at the time. So the district decided to merge this particular club with the Punta Gorda Rotary Club, which worked out good because we had more members then to take care of. Plus, we brought in additional funds for the club itself to be able to use throughout the years. In the Punta Gorda Rotary Club, that's Punta Gorda, Florida, over on the West Coast. I participated in several committees: the community service, the grant committee, and the international committee. And it was quite interesting because going to Florida, we had a lot of people from the various areas of the country, basically the mid and the East Coast. So they brought in a lot of different ideas of how to and who would receive our particular funds and donations. In that Punta Gorda Rotary Club, we had really a separate club and a separate foundation. The foundation was basically the treasury of the club. So we're the ones who collected the money, and decided where the particular funds would go to. I served as the secretary and the treasurer of both the foundation and of the club, and was very, very interesting to get involved with the slightly different outlook on these particular areas. This particular club, we did have several fundraiser events in which I served as the treasurer. As you all had the taste of the West Lancaster County, we had the taste of Punta Gorda, and that particular fundraiser event was held at a city park where we had almost 30 restaurants under a canopies and tents, and we had almost 90 vendors around. But we also had the fire, the police, and the EMS people there giving their demonstrations, as well as the canine dogs. We even had events there for the kids, as well as some bands and that. So it was a big deal there for us for one day. We had upwards of about 5,000 people there at times, and we did generate a lot of funds which helped us in the community as well as the international grants. We also had, excuse me, we also had what we called the Healing Field of Honor. What that was, we had 1,000 American flags displayed in the park. We sold those flags to particular people who wanted to honor the military, EMS, first responders, the police, the fire department, even the teachers. So that generated extra funds for us, and it was very nice to see the park full of these flags, especially as you came over the bridge over the river. Might be a possibility for this club. We'll probably have to talk about that to the board. We also had another way to collect donations. Fortunately, up in Sarasota was the Patterson Foundation, which they, instead of these particular individuals, instead of giving donations directly to particular charities, they said, why don't we do something a little different? And so what they did is they allowed the businesses, including the 501c3 clubs, to go out and solicit particular donations and funds from the community. They would match those number of funds so that it would be distributed in a fairly manner throughout the communities, and not only from the Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda area, but up from the Sarasota and area as well. So it was a quite fruitful and worthwhile event for all of us. From there, of course, moved up here to Palmyra, Pennsylvania, and looked around at about 5 or 6 clubs. Paul Thompson knows all about that because he saw me at all the clubs events, and again, really liked this particular club, and I would like to do as much as I can to help out as many ways as I can here for this particular club, and it sounds like we're doing a great job the way it is now. So that's a little bit of my Rotary experience. I'll just give a little background of my work and my life. I was born in Dayton, Ohio, and grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, basically LaGrange and Downers Grove. I played sports, and I was active in scouting in that area. During my senior year there at high school, I was selected and to attend the United States Air Force Academy. So I went out there in June of 1965 and spent 4 years of rigorous military training and education. And I graduated with a BS degree in aeronautical engineering. I was pilot qualified, so I did 10 flight training down at Randolph Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. After 1 year of training there, I selected to fly the C-130 cargo aircraft. I was supposed to go over to Clark Air Base in the Philippines because the Vietnam War was going on at the time, to help fly supplies and materials into Vietnam. But the war was winding down at that time, and they eliminated a squadron out of Clark, and I ended up at Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, Texas. But it turned out to be a good deal because instead of going to the hot war, I was flying the Cold War, and where they would send us temporary duty over to Europe for about 3 to 4 months, and we come back to the States for like 6 months. Then we head back over there for 3 or 4 months. So I got to fly throughout Europe. We flew missions to a lot of embassies throughout Europe and to some other sites, radar sites, etc. And basically, we were based at Mildenhall, England, and Rhine-Main, Germany. We even got over to Egypt when the relationships started improving between Egypt and the U.S. We did fly behind the Iron Curtain into Berlin and embassies in Prague and Warsaw. It was a exciting time, especially as a young kid, to be able to fly over there and see all the different parts of the European continent. After 5 years, I separated from the Air Force as a captain and decided to get into engineering. I did look into the airlines to fly for the commercially, but at the time I wore glasses, and that was a weeding out tool for the airlines at the time. So I did get into my engineering. I worked as an engineer with Owens Corning Fiberglass in Conroe, Texas, just north of Houston. There we developed fiberglass pipe and tanks for corrosive environments. It was a development project from the start, and again, it was very interesting to start a particular product from the beginning. My particular job in there was to deal with customer specifications. They gave us the parameters of information that they needed for their particular pipeline. So I worked basically under the marketing people, and so hence they moved to Toledo, Ohio, to help out customer support and supporting our marketing people. It's interesting, the fiberglass pipe being a new type of product, we obviously had to market it a little more heavily, and we did sell pipe to Iran, and we did sell pipe in Saudi Arabia because of the corrosive environments there. At the time, I did get into Norway and Saudi Arabia, so it was interesting to see the thing. Norway was the development of the machine that would produce these pipes, while in Saudi, being such a hazard environment, they decided it was a good way to start up a new plant over there. Let's see. At that time, Owens Corning Fiberglass had to release a lot of people and divisions because they were getting a hostile takeover from Wicks Lumber. So obviously, our particular division got pushed to the side and was out of job for a while. But fortunately, during my stint with Owens Corning Fiberglass, I also became a flight instructor, and I did some part-time flight instructor for a outfit in Toledo Suburban Airport, just to the north of Toledo in Michigan. So this particular gentleman asked me to become the chief flight instructor there for his school, which I did. And we worked with college people to set up a aviation curriculum and to teach them how to fly, as well as teaching them the ins and outs of aviation. And that lasted for about 3 years because there was a little rift between the presidents, as usual, and so they disbanded that. So I kept my flying going on when I went to Zantop Airlines to fly cargo aircraft out of Willow Run, Michigan. That was fun, nighttime flying into the hubs and spend the day there and then fly at night back and forth. And basically, we delivered auto parts for the automobile manufacturers at the time. I did that for several years and then went back to engineering for AP Parts. AP Parts did the aftermarket muffler and tailpipe systems. But at that particular time, they were getting into the original equipment to work with the three majors, Ford, GM, and Chrysler. In my particular area, I was a product engineer, worked with Ford trucks, and then eventually went on to the larger passenger cars. And we did everything from the exhaust manifold all the way back to the tip, including catalytic converters and flex couplings. But on the side there, I purchased a flight school in Toledo, Ohio. So I had several managers working for me and several flight instructors. I owned about 3 airplanes. We had about 5 or 6 airplanes in the flight school. And this was the flight school that I was doing the part-time work. So it worked out real nice and it helped the gentleman who sold it out as well. Then in 1997, as I said, that's when I joined Rotary. I was starting to work with my father-in-law in a new business. And we basically sold steel roofing and steel siding to the contractors and architects around the area. At that particular time, the tobacco industry had a settlement, and there were a lot of funds available for the schools and that, so it was very lucrative business, and we did quite well, and it was a lot of fun. Then, for personal reasons, I had to leave my father-in-law, and I started back into the companies that bought AP Parts. We had many, many owners throughout the 90s. And a particular company called Forcia, French company, bought the exhaust system module. And I went to work for them because they needed somebody to go to Cologne, Germany. So I was over in Cologne, Germany for 3 years working with Ford Motor Company, developing some European vehicles. And we were co-located with the Ford people right there in a suburb of Cologne. I was basically a program manager there, and I had 8 people working under me. Basically, I had some Germans, I had a Dutchman, I had some French, and a Brit from UK and Americans. It was quite interesting to be over there and work with particular people of these different nationalities. The Germans would speak German, but fortunately they spoke English as well. After 3 years there, I came back as a program manager back to Toledo, Ohio, and again working with Ford with the engineers up at Dearborn. I retired in 2009, but they asked me to stay on for another year because we needed to finish up a particular project, which I did. Then I snowbird for a couple years, back and forth between Toledo and Port Charlotte. And then I finally moved down there in 2013, so I was down there for 12 years. But after several health issues, our kids encouraged us to come back north here and be around them. So hence my presence here in central Pennsylvania, and really appreciate the opportunity to talk about my experiences in Rotary, and I know that this particular club is going to do quite well. So thank you. Any questions or comments or anything? Yeah. Go, Glenn.
Fascinating background. So we're on a plane together, okay? Something happens to the pilot. And you just jump into any plane and land that plane safely.
The basic differences between the aircraft, all the aircraft fly the same way. The basic differences is in the systems. You know, when one particular, like a fuel system, electrical systems, pneumatic systems, they're all different in all the aircraft. So, yeah, you could fly that aircraft. You need some help as far as what's understood of what the throttles and the trim systems, etc., would be, what kind of power settings. Yeah, that's. But if that ever happened, you'd have to talk your way down.
What Glenn is getting to is he would like to take you along to the international convention next year.
Okay.
So that you'll feel a lot better flying.
You're a little scared about getting up to Calgary. Yeah, I think I would. Yeah.
More than you, Glenn.
I've watched enough movies, I can do it.
John, go ahead.
You still fly?
Yes, I do. Yeah, as a flight instructor.
Where do you fly? Where do you fly out of?
Well, I haven't up here yet,
Oh, okay.
but down in Florida, I flew out of the Punta Gorda Airport and Venice Airport. Had several students just to get proficiency and maintain their instrument currency. Yeah, yeah. It was a lot of fun. I got a lot of stories on students flying too. Yeah, Charlie. Ralph, I'm sorry.
As you talked about your life experience or your Rotary experience, I was imagining a map. And if you put a pin in every place you slept or lived for any, like a month or two, all over that map, do you have any idea how many states you lived in and how many places you lived in for at least a couple of months? And how many would that be?
I couldn't tell you, Ralph. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, you spent the night at several places, several cities and everything throughout the U.S. and over in Europe as well. Like I said, we were fortunate enough to get down to Egypt and Algiers and that. Oh, when I was with Forcia over in Cologne, Germany, I got to visit a lot of suppliers over in Taiwan, South America. South Africa, and throughout France, Germany, Belgium, the test track there in Belgium. So
You're blowing my mind at all these.
yeah, when I was going through it, I'm thinking the same thing. What the heck was I doing all this? Now, you just did your job. So, yeah, thanks.
Any other questions?
Good. Thank you.
Steve. I really feel fortunate to have Steve as part of our club. You know, there's not too many new members that come in that have checked out half a dozen other clubs and decided that we're the one. So that, I think, it makes us all feel good to know that you're part of our club. You selected us. We didn't select you. And we're glad to have you with us.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. There's